how to calculate point spreads for college football games using power ratings from ESPN and TeamRankings.com. I will show you how step by step in this video. In the description box below this video is a link where you can download my Excel spreadsheet that calculates point spreads for you. And there's a link where you can download these PowerPoint slides. First, I will explain the math. The math, step by step, to calculate point spreads, and where you can find power ratings on ESPN and TeamRankings.com. Then, I will explain power ratings, where these numbers come from, and what they represent. This method is used to calculate point spreads for college football, the NFL, and NBA and college basketball. Very useful knowledge. First, let's look at the math used to calculate point spreads. Here is the core of the point spread calculation formula. Home team power rating plus home field advantage minus road team power rating. Once you calculate this number, you go to the next step, which is you take the negative of the number that you calculated in the first step. Then this gives you the point spread of the home team. Let's do a real-world example. So Saturday, October 4th, 2025, Alabama will be playing at home. They're ranked 10. Vanderbilt is the road team. They're ranked 16. So on ESPN, they publish their football power index, which is their power rating. Later in this video, I'll show you where you can get these numbers. So Alabama is ranked 10, is the higher ranked team, so they're the favorite. So on the ESPN website, if you look at F.P.I, which stands for Football Power Index, this is the power rating. Alabama is 23.1. Vanderbilt is 16.5. So Alabama is rated 6.6 points higher than Vanderbilt. So zooming in the numbers, we see that the home team, Alabama, is 23.1. Vanderbilt is 16.5. Now we can do the point spread calculation. So here's the formula again. Home team power rating plus home field advantage minus road team power rating. Calculate that number and then take the negative of that number. So here we go. Alabama, 23.1. Plus 3 home field advantage, Vanderbilt minus 16.5. Take that number, take the negative of that, and that gives you Alabama's point spread. Now with the home field advantage, traditionally the number is 3, but 3 or 4 could be used. So the point spread here would be minus 9.6. 23.1 plus 3 gives you 26.1 minus 16.5. Take that number, take the negative of that number, and then you get the point spread. And does this make sense? Yes. Alabama is the favorite. The favorite always has the negative point spread. So Alabama minus 9.6 is the point spread calculated using ESPN's F.P.I Football Power Index. Now, does this make sense? Okay, so Alabama is 6.6 points higher in the power rating in ESPN's F.P.I than Vanderbilt. Okay, 6.6. But since they're at home, they're given an additional 3 points. So that 6.6 becomes 9.6. So at home, Alabama is 9.6 points higher than Vanderbilt. To convert that into a point spread, that makes Alabama the favorite by 9.6. So how do you get the Vanderbilt number? Is you reverse the sign. So Alabama is minus 9.6. Vanderbilt is plus 9.6. So whenever you see the minus sign in the point spread, that means that team's the favorite. So Alabama, ranked 10, is the favorite, minus 9.6. Vanderbilt, the underdog, is plus 9.6. What does this mean? This means that based on the ESPN F.P.I, Football Power Index, power rating, Alabama, statistically, is predicted to win by 9.6 points. Okay? Vanderbilt will lose by 9.6 points. That's one way to look at it. Now let's compare this to the Vegas numbers. So on VegasInsider.com, they have the odds, and we see that, in fact, the point spread is minus 10.5. Pretty close. Basically, 1 point away. But let's go back to the home field advantage. We use 3, and I said that you can use 3 or 4. Those are typical numbers for home field advantage. College football has a stronger home field advantage, statistically. NFL's home field advantage is now currently 2 is the number for NFL. So instead of 3, if we do 4, then that would be Alabama 23.1 plus 4 is 27.1 minus 16.5. That gives us the same exact number as Vegas. So based on the ESPN power rating, F.P.I, Alabama will be minus 10.6. Essentially the same number as Vegas, minus 10.5. So do not panic. In the description box below this video is an Excel spreadsheet. And in this Excel spreadsheet, this spreadsheet will do the calculations for you. And I even give examples. So here's the Alabama example, and this is Florida. So these are 2 different scenarios. In this situation, Alabama is the favorite, and they're the home team. And in the situation with Florida versus Texas, Florida's the home team, and then they're the underdog. So let me show you how to use this spreadsheet here. Zooming in. So all these highlighted boxes are input fields. So here I'm going to put in Alabama. That's the home team. Road team is Vanderbilt. So the ESPN F.P.I number, 23.1. Okay, this time let's give the home field a 4, and then Vanderbilt is 16.5. And then automatically we get Alabama minus 10.6 and Vanderbilt minus 10.6. So what I also did here is, so I provided the examples. And also there's a total of 3 sources of power ratings that I use. ESPN has an F.P.I number. They also have another power rating known as SP+. And then TeamRankings also has power ratings. So what I did here is, if you look at the cell here, if you click this link, it will take you to the ESPN SP Plus power ratings. And if you click this link here, it'll take you to the TeamRankings power ratings, and then you can input the numbers, and then it's the same formula, the same calculations. So, and over here is the ESPN F.P.I numbers, and this is all in the spreadsheet. Now, if you want to do multiple games, what you can do is just copy the formulas here and just paste them. And then you can put in, like for example, Texas, Florida. I'm going to just make up some notes like 30, 20, home field 4. So what you do is just simply copy this block of cells and then just repeat, just make multiple versions of it. So let me show you the Florida one, because what the Alabama game represents is, this is what happens when Alabama, the favorite, is the home team. What happens if the home team is the underdog? So Florida, on Saturday, October 4th, 2025, Florida is the home team. Texas is the road team. Florida is the underdog. So here, ESPN's F.P.I power rating is 9.2. Let's home field advantage 3. Texas is 23.1. So what this is saying is Texas is rated 23.1 and 9.2. So basically, Texas is rated 7.9 points higher than Florida. But Florida gets So that means the Florida's an underdog by 7.9 points. But Florida gets 3 extra points because they're the underdog. So that comes out to 10.9. So these numbers make sense. But the math, if you input the numbers, it'll do the math for you. So that's an Excel spreadsheet. So now where can you get these power ratings? So do not panic again. So in the description box below this video is a link where you can download these PowerPoint slides. So it has all these calculations for you. But also on these slides is a list of links where you can click these links and it will take you to where you can get the power ratings. The first link is ESPN F.P.I power ratings, and those are the numbers that I showed in the beginning of this video, in the first section of this video. Then I also included a link where F.P.I is explained. Then I have a link for SP Plus power ratings. It is another set of power ratings calculated by a different source, but it's also on ESPN. And then TeamRankings.com has predictive ratings, which are their power ratings. So I'm going to go through these websites with you, but all the links are in the PowerPoint slides, which you can download. So now let's look at these websites. So ESPN College Football Power Index. So if you go to this link, which is actually under rankings, so ESPN NCAAF rankings, Football Power Index, and SP Plus. So the column that you want to look at is F.P.I. So we see Oregon is 24.2, Alabama is 23.1, Vanderbilt is 16.5. That's where I got these numbers. Now, what's the difference between a power rating versus a power ranking? The power rating is the number that you use for the point spread. The rating is actually points, point-based. Ranking is just where you are in the sequence. So are you in the top 10? So Oregon's ranked number 1, Ohio State's ranked number 2. And these rankings are based on the F.P.I. These are not the same as the AP Top 25 or Coaches Poll. These are human opinion polls. These rankings are based on numbers. Also, if you look here, you have F.P.I, resume. The main number here that I like to look at is SOR, which is strength of record, which is so far this season who has the best record considering how hard the opponents have been. So Texas A&M and Oregon. So Oregon beat Penn State. So those rank high up. And then efficiencies are useful because they actually have offense and defense and special teams. So if you want to know how good these teams are based on offense, defense, and special teams, they have the numbers here. So this is going back to the F.P.I. Now if you scroll down, it'll explain to you what F.P.I, it has a definition here under glossary. F.P.I, Football Power Index, measures teams' true strength on net point scale. F.P.I is the expected point margin versus average opponent on neutral field. So also too is they have a link here. If you click that link, it will go to an explanation of F.P.I on the ESPN website. What is F.P.I? So here it is. It says here, if Vegas ever published their power rankings that it uses to set lines, point spreads, they would likely look quite a lot like F.P.I. So F.P.I is designed to be similar to the power ratings that Vegas used to calculate lines, point spreads. So as I said, F.P.I is one number or one power rating source. Another power rating source, if you go to rankings and SP Plus rankings, that will take you to SP Plus rankings, which are another set of power ratings, which you can use to calculate your own point spreads. So these are actually calculated by Bill Conley, one person. And he's been in sports analytics for many years. I've been reading his articles for many years, and I like his thought process and methodology. So Bill Conley, and a few years ago, ESPN hired him to write articles and calculate these numbers. So they have the teams here, and the number you want to use is rating. So Alabama is 21.1, Vanderbilt is 21.0. So actually, he rates Vanderbilt higher. So in this case, according to his numbers, Alabama should be, the point spread should only be -3 or -4, home field advantage only. He rates them the same. Now, if I had to choose one power rating, I like Bill Conley's numbers because I know his thought process. I like that ESPN is an authoritative source, but I like to know the person who calculated numbers. And Bill Conley's numbers, if I have to choose one, I'll go with his numbers. So this is telling me Vanderbilt as an underdog is a good play. Vanderbilt might actually win. They won last year, but they will cover the spread according to Bill Conley. Now, the third source of power ratings is TeamRankings.com. So TeamRankings.com was started 25 years ago by two Stanford graduates. And they have their NCAA college football predictive rankings and ratings. And they explain here what are these all about. And they're designed to be predictive ratings for future predictions. So what you want to do here is look at the first column, ratings. And here we see Alabama is 28.7. And Vanderbilt is 17.6. So roughly, yes, 11 points difference. So here, team rankings, the point spread for Alabama should be about -14, 2 touchdowns. So an alternative set of numbers. Okay, so next, again, on the PowerPoint slides that you can download are these links. And I'll also put them in the description box below this video. So I want to move on now to say, what are these power ratings? Where do they come from? Okay, they're not magical, okay? So here's the answer to power ratings. Power ratings, this is the simple formula, are points scored per game minus points allowed per game. So it's basically offense minus defense. Average offense minus average defense per game for a specific team. So the power rating for a team is points scored minus points allowed per game on average for the season. So again, the key word is it's average, it's for the whole season, and it's projected. So hypothetically, if you had a time machine and you went to the end of the season and you looked at points scored per game and points allowed per game, you could calculate the true power rating for the team. But, of course, you'd have to adjust for injuries, home field, road, and strength of opponent. Okay, but this is the core of the calculation. So, of course, there needs to be adjustments. So, if you went into the future and looked back on the 2025 season, you could then have the points scored per game minus points allowed per game, make the adjustments for strength of opponents, right? And then you could calculate these power ratings. We don't have a time machine, so what Vegas has to do is they have to try to project to their best of ability. So at the beginning of the season, what do? They start with last season's statistics. Then they look at the transfer portal, players that graduate, move on to the NFL, incoming freshmen, recruiting, injuries, etc. And then they estimate, well, what's the average point scored by this team per game? And what's the average points allowed per game? And then that gives them their preseason power ratings. And as each week progresses, they adjust these numbers. However, the adjustments are slow because, again, these are projections for the whole season average. So after one game, for example, I'll give you an example in the NFL. In the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts are playing much better than everybody's expected. But it takes a while for that number, the power rating, to adjust to reality because it's diluted over in the NFL 17 games. So in college football, 12 games. Let's say after 2 games, you're like, wow, Vanderbilt's a lot better than we thought. Okay, and so, but it takes a while for that number to adjust. That's where opportunities come up. So if we know from watching football games and looking at the results that, hey, Vanderbilt's a lot better than we expected, we can take advantage of the fact that Vegas is handcuffed and constrained by this methodology. So let me go to the ESPN website here and show you what I mean. So this is 2024 statistics. Very important. 2024 statistics. So we can look back at 2024. So on ESPN's site, so on offense, points per game average. So last year, Miami Hurricanes, 43.9. Let's look at Alabama. Alabama was 33.8. They also have their defensive numbers. This is points allowed. Last year, Ohio State was number 1, 12.9 points allowed per game. Alabama was 17.4 points per game. Again, this is 2024. But just to demonstrate for you how the power ratings are calculated, let's use the 2024 numbers. So using the 2024 numbers, Alabama, on average, scored 33.8 points per game. That's their offense. On defense, they allowed 17.4 points per game. Defense. So if we do offense minus defense, we get 16.4. So that's just 33.8 minus 17.4 gives you 16.4. Offense minus defense. And that's I would say like points scored minus points allowed per game. This is the core of the power rating. Okay? Of course, you have to adjust for strength of schedule, opponents, etc., right? And the key term here is point differential. So this point differential for the actual season 2024, so this is the actual point differential with adjustments, gives you a power rating for 2024. The problem is 2024 is last year, but we need power ratings for this year. But this tells you where these numbers come from, right? Now, what is the point? Why use point differential? Well, point differential, which is really just offense minus defense, points scored minus points allowed per game, is across NFL, NBA, college basketball. Point differential is the most statistically powerful correlation of actual final points of winning and margin of victory. But it makes sense because the final outcome, the final score, is based on points scored and points allowed of both teams. So it's actually, this is the most intelligent number to use, point differential. So this was Alabama. So for Vanderbilt, last year, their offense averaged 27.5 points per game. Their defense allowed 23.4 points per game. So subtracting offense minus defense gives you 4.1 for the season. Let's use this as a power rating. So what if we use this as our power rating? Let's pretend that these 2024 numbers, let's say that all the players are the same and we can use these numbers. So in this particular matchup on October 4th, 2025, okay, Alabama is 16.4. That's from last year. Home field advantage, let's give them 3. And then Vanderbilt, 4.1. Then that gives us 15.3. Flip that. The point spread is Alabama minus 15.3. This is using 2024 numbers. So let's compare. So Alabama's current point spread is minus 10.5. Kind of close, right? The teams have changed. So basically what this year represents is compared to last year, Vanderbilt is considered to be a better team relative to Alabama, so the point spread is smaller. And so that's the core of the power rating, which is used to calculate point spreads. Now, what's the implications of this? Well, now that you know where these power ratings come from, basically point differential, offense minus defense, points scored minus points allowed per game, on average for the whole season, projected for the future, adjusted for strength of opponents, strength of schedule, venue, etc., injuries, and how the point spread is calculated, you know where these numbers come from, and you know that they come from humans. Okay, they don't come down from a mountain. Humans calculate it, and they also do it on they use a consistent mathematical methodology, which statistically allows Vegas to make a profit statistically over the long run. However, for individual games, there may be discrepancies. For example, in the case of Bill Conley, he's rating Alabama and Vanderbilt to be the same. They're both 21. So this makes me want to look closer at the Alabama-Vanderbilt game. So, okay, based on this, Alabama should be only -3. But Bill Conley's predicting that, Alabama should be -3, -4. But Vegas is saying -10.5, which means if I bet Alabama, they're not going to cover. But Vanderbilt will. Therefore, Vanderbilt plus 10.5 is the play. Possibly Vanderbilt money line. They could win. They won last year. Of course, you have to look at injuries, recent performance, especially recent performance, margin of victory. How did they cover the point spread? How much did they cover by against quality teams, injuries, etc., psychological factors, human factors, etc. Then that's how you are able to generate picks. Now, why is this powerful beyond just college football? Well, because this concept is also used to calculate point spreads for the NFL, NBA, and college basketball. Any games with point spreads, they use this. But to extrapolate to the larger universe of sports, okay, even in games that are money line based, such as MLB baseball and NHL hockey and soccer, still use the concept of point differential, points scored minus points allowed per game, offense minus defense, to calculate odds and generate the odds for the games, MLB, NHL, and soccer. Now, for the money line games, it's a little bit different process. But what you need to know is even in hockey, NHL hockey, MLB baseball, and soccer, what's the main thing you need to look at is you need to look at offense minus defense, the point differential, which again makes sense because winning is about point differential, points scored minus points allowed. Covering the point spread is about points scored, points allowed, point differential of both teams. So that clarifies the overall methodology of how point spreads and odds and lines are calculated in Vegas. Again, look in the description box below for the links to my Excel spreadsheet, which calculates the point spreads for you, and the PowerPoint slides for this video.